So what exactly is live off the floor recording then?
So this record we did live off the floor. So it wasn't, everybody coming in separately and layering and then going home. It was everybody coming in at the same time, creating music in one space at one time together. Because I'm so accustomed to live performance, like that's my comfort space, is being on stage. Mm-hmm. The energy that you feel when you're creating something alongside other people and that excitement. When everybody's playing together and working together. And again, like I keep saying breathing together because I think that's important. It's a different symbiotic energy.
Yes.
So I wanted to put that into a video and show it and share it, like just the communication we have between each other, the joy we have playing together. We wanted to give people the energy behind the record.
Everything I've done, everything I've placed too high a consequence on, everything I've run to and from, before the gun has even gone off, before the players choose their number one. Oh, yeah. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do now? What you gonna do to curb expectations, to ever really see things through? Yeah, don't stop if you got something left to say. Don't stop if you got something to give away. And baby, maybe the world is just waiting on just a minute of your time. That's what you're gonna do, yeah.
Okay, guys, we have got an incredible record on our hands here. The record's called The Sound in the Dark. And let's start off by talking about how it came together. Sandra, I understand that you were at a place called Halls Island.
Yes.
It was an artist's retreat, is that right?
Yeah, it was the Halls Island residency. I got to do this 10-day retreat on Halls Island. I think you pay $10 to apply. There were writers, there were poets, all sorts of different artists that went there. Yeah, it was amazing.
And you had told me previously that the songs took shape there.
A lot of them were shaped or finished or were perfected on Halls Island.
I turned my back on one more mountain, and I let a sound in the dark drive me back to shore. And I was happy floating on my back, conversing with the stars. But I let that sound give up our conversation to the dark. Oh, yes, yeah. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Now, I understand that these songs were arranged on the record in a certain sequence. There's an intended thematic progression, we'll say.
I think it actually kind of starts more soulful and then gets darker towards the end of the album. And the last song is that like Ajego tune. And it's sort of the very dark, eerie kind of feel. And I've been listening to it a lot last little while just to feel that order. And I love the progression.
Okay. So let's start with the title track then, the first song on the album, Sound in the Dark.
Yes.
It's very inspirational in terms of lyrics. As a listener, I try to imagine who you're talking to. Who is your audience and what are you?
So I was on Halls Island, like it's just me and on a lake. And so I decided I was going to go skinny dipping one night, and it was this gorgeous night and the sky was clear and there's nobody around. And so I go down to the dock and I get in the water, and I was in the water for like maybe 30 seconds and I heard a sound.
Oh.
I was so freaked out because I'm alone on this island. So I like jump out of the water and I run back up to the cabin and I let this fear take away this awesome, beautiful moment. Like there's a plethora of other things that I didn't do because I let fear take over. And I think a lot of people, like, fear of success, fear of failure, it's kind of the same thing. I know plenty of people in my life, and I'm sure we all do know people who you can see that they've got so much to offer, so much potential, and they're just afraid.
Right.
I wrote the song that night, and I thought about all the things that I haven't done because I let fear take over. And so the next night, I went back out and I had a beautiful Skinny Dipping experience.
In the dark, don't stop if you got something left to say, and don't stop if you got something to give away. And maybe the world is just waiting on just a minute of your time, just a minute of just a minute of your time. Oh, that's what you gonna do. Yeah. That's what you gonna do now. No. That's what you gonna do.
So in listening to the record, I hear, a nod to soul. I hear a nod to R&B. The thing I like about this record is that you can't really pin it down to one specific period or genre.
Our goal was to sort of, what she said when we were connected, she wanted to be Joni Mitchell and Amy Winehouse. And that was sort of the idea that we wanted to pull. So, what do you do with that? Those are polar opposite people. Mm-hmm. So you have to draw on the inspirations of specific artists for specific songs.
Right.
Even though we're switching genres or switching modes between it, there's still a cohesive element to it. And that was what we worked really hard to try to find.
I sort of discovered soul and blues and jazz on my own, but because my mom was a folkie, right? So I grew up on Joni Mitchell, and like my roots were that type of music, like CSNY, that kind of stuff. Like I've seen Neil Young 7 times in concert.
First shot at you and I could do without the pining and the constant reminders of a song when it tells me where I wish I could be. Yeah. I wish I could be. Yeah. Yeah. I got tired, I got out, put it in a bottle and I drank it down. Not even a case of you ever gonna do me good. Yes, I got fed up and I got out, yeah. See the kind of living they told me about. I could drink you down. Never gonna be, no, never be good. Never be good, never be good, never be
So The Bottle is the second track on the record. There's a metaphor involved, the alcohol thing and the relationships thing. But when I hear the middle 8 lyrics of this song, I feel like there's more to it than just a simple metaphor.
It doesn't even have to be about alcoholism specifically, but it's also just about anybody who's living sort of too fast. Mm-hmm. And like, because I remember living that way and just like always going, and things are falling apart around you. And when I said we look good, me and you, that's about alcohol for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the entity that you're addressing is actually alcohol.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because, I was sort of a chronic relapser before I got sober. And every time I would go back to it, I would think and I would have a bottle in my hand, and be like, this is me. Mm-hmm. This is who I am. So, the rest of the world just needs to deal with it. And of course, it was me trying to convince myself that I was normal or I was okay. A lot of addiction comes from this deep insecurity about just existing in this world the way you are.
Not even a case of you is ever gonna do me good. Yes, I got better, and I got out, yeah. Say the kind of living they told me about. I could drink you down. Never gonna be, no one ever be good. Never be good, never be good, never be good. No one ever be good. Never be good, never be good, never be good. No, I'll never be good. Never be good, never be good, never be good. No, I'll never be good. Never be good, never be good, never be good. No, I'll never be good again.
I think Joni and Amy, they're both the big thing that they have in common, other than lyrically, is like they're both powerful women. They both are like they aren't defined by men.
That's right.
Which I think is also something that you have too, where you're not sort of being told what to do. You're not being a puppet. You are sort of like, here's my statement. Here's what I have. Well, I met her as a performer, right? So when I first saw the show, like I was mixing backstage, and I watched this and I went, oh my God, this is alpha woman here. Okay, great. And then she, when we talked to her, it's like, oh, she's very mild mannered and just like kind of almost shy. And it was sort of like, how is it possible that you have this stage persona? So when we decided to do the record, my idea was, okay, well, I want to capture that live show the way I felt when I watched you live. I want to capture that.
It was almost too easy. That look in your eye that said I was almost home. Home for the holidays, or maybe even home to stay. It's been such a long damn time since I went away. Well, yes, there I go again, trying to find that.
So next on the record is a song called Good Vibrations. And there's an aspect in this song that is common in a lot of your other songs where it's like a surge. So there's this build up. And, as a listener, I almost feel like it kind of grabs you by the shirt and pulls you along with it.
When home with you was someplace good, I just want to get it back. I want those good vibrations.
I wrote it acoustic, and then when I played it for Ross, he saw potential in the song to have more of that surge you were talking about.
My skill, I believe, is in arrangement. I usually am pretty quick at saying, okay, well, this is identified as a pre-chorus more, or this part should maybe be the intro. Or oftentimes I'll take a bridge and I'll put that bridge riff as the intro of the song and then move into it, like tricks like that.
Yes.
So in this case, she plays me this thing, and I said, well, it kind of needs this hooky chorus thing here. So I offered chords to play what would be a great departure from the verse. And then aside from humming melodies, there's really not, as a songwriter, that's not really my world. So I kind of go, maybe it should sound like this. And then the rest of that, you take off. And then she assigns lyrics to it and she puts the meanings to it. And that's, I believe, a great songwriting team.
And, these super talented humans. And then with Miles, oh man, that solo he plays is one of my favorite, if not my favorite spot on the record. Like even now, just listening to it, I'm driving along and I hear Miles and I'm like, yeah. Oh man, it was so good. He's so good.
It was easy going back to those good vibrations.
So Sit by the Fire is my favorite track from the record. Because I'm a big guitar guy, I wanted to talk a little bit about the tone that you achieved on that record. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Or on that song. I love it. Here's what I think about that. When I heard the song initially, I expected like a typical kind of Les Paul through a Marshall, right? But the tone that you use has this kind of anger, like it's rude.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit left of center. No, it is, and it makes the song.
Yeah. Typically Marshalls are very bright. They have like a very sort of honky, bright sort of twang to them, right? While they're still aggressive, they do have a more pointed top end. The high watt, which is my favorite amp. It's more like a PA in that it's so loud and clean, and it takes pedals very well. So you can jam a lot into it before it actually starts to break up.
Okay.
And once it breaks up, its natural distortion is a lot more in the low mids, like 800 hertz kind of frequency. That's where that anger and snarl comes from.
So great.
Come sit with us, they said to me. Come sit by the fire and be who you will be. And I said, oh no, I can't think like that. I got a long life of plans ahead. They said, we know you'll be back. Come and sit by the fire. Come and sit by the fire, yeah, yeah. Wade through complications.
Come Sit by the Fire was a ballad, and it was sort of more introspective and going back to that sort of theme of living too fast. I'm sure everybody who's been living that way has had somebody in their life say, you gotta slow down. And you're like, I can't. I have all these things I gotta do. I'm gonna get married and have this many kids by this age and or be a CEO by this age or be this. We have all these plans. If you're going full tilt on something without, paying any mind to like your spiritual health or your physical health or your emotional health, you're gonna lose other things in your life. It's a song just about taking a minute, just sit by the fire.
Fantastic. I noticed that when I was watching you guys play earlier, that you're all completely lined up and there's almost not a silent communication, but there's an unspoken communication between all of you.
I sort of made a decision that I don't want to work with anybody who I don't feel emotionally, spiritually, physically safe with, right? And again, one of the things that attracted me to Ross is just like he was a genuine, authentic person, And then the band, it was the same thing. Like for me, that's so important to just be with nice people that I feel respected by and that they're just good humans. The hang, it's a good hang.
Tell me the truth, babe, would you still ring around the world for me? Tell me the truth, babe, when's the last time that you screamed my name? Tell me the truth, babe, is it more passion or just pain? I don't wanna argue no more, I ain't got nothing left to fight for. I don't know how we got here, but it's time for me to go. I don't wanna argue no more, maybe you got something left to fight for. It's time for me to go.
Time for Me to Go. I had heard an early version of this song that you played for me, and I think it was on the acoustic, and I love how it turned out. So this song smolders. Like there is an intensity.
It took sort of a rockier turn, but I love it. Like I love that tremolo too. It's so cool. It kind of creates this tension in the song because it's a song about like knowing that something's over.
Right.
It's about one person realizing that this is over, and the other person probably deep down knowing it's over too. And like I think the tremolo adds like it's something you really didn't really think about, but like for me that tension of the tremolo, it adds so much to that concept of like it's time for me to go, and there's a tension, and the tremolo just makes it happen. Like emotionally.
Completely unintentional.
Just you're a genius without even trying.
Completely unintentional.
So let's talk about Shine. So there's a little bit of venom in this one. There's a brooding intro that is played with a bow and your Les Paul.
That's right. So yeah, the song's sort of padded with this bow the whole time. But it helped to create the atmosphere of that, sort of the mysteriousness of it.
I was just thinking that word, atmospheric. It's so atmospheric.
Can't be angry in the daylight. Shadows just don't seem to sit on the skin just right. Try the other one for the sound. You aim for the single, but you double the ride. Bet it wasn't easy, was it? Living underground, and you could not shine like you wanted to. You couldn't talk about it, couldn't figure it out. You couldn't shine like you wanted to. When you stamp your feet black and blue, couldn't shine like you wanted to. And the stubborn fool is on you. Couldn't shine like you wanted to. Now you are making up for old crimes.
Shine can be, again, about a lot of different things. I wrote it sort of with the point of view of from feminism. Like women who feel very silenced in a lot of ways, in a lot of places. You couldn't shine the way you wanted to. You were not being heard. Your opinions weren't being listened to. You weren't being validated, you know. So for me, that's where it came from. I wrote that song about 15 years ago when I was living in Vancouver.
Wow.
I didn't record it because I was afraid, but I'm at a point in my life where I'm done silencing myself. And I did that so much, and I allowed other people to do it. Like, I had a part in that too, you know? So I'm at a point in my life where I do not want to do that anymore. And I refuse to do that, and I refuse to work with people who do that. It's an ode to letting yourself shine, which is why I want to record this now, because it's about not doing that anymore.
Wonderful.
You couldn't shine like you wanted to. You couldn't talk about it, couldn't figure it out. You couldn't shine like you wanted to. And you stamp your feet black and blue. Couldn't shine like you wanted to. And the stubborn fool is on you. Couldn't shine like you wanted to. Yeah. You couldn't shine like you wanted to.
A big part of your identity or your brand has to do with the fact that you're not afraid to go to the dark places. You're not afraid to stand up for yourself. And, you know, that comes through in this record. That comes through in your style. You're very authentic. There's no artifice. It comes through in how you carry yourself. And you can hear that in this record.
That's, I think, the biggest compliment you can give anybody, not just as an artist, as a human. Because I think in our society, it's quite scary to be yourself. If you hear me not being afraid to stand up for myself, I think because there's a lot of times in my life that I was afraid to stand up for myself and I didn't stand up for myself. So, you know, I'm 39, like I don't shy away from that. And I get in my head a lot about being a 39-year-old woman and what that means in the music industry, what it means in the world, like women become invisible as they get older, right? You know, where our value is determined by what men think of us, how valuable we are to men, like attraction, youth, beauty, that kind of thing. So those are all things that I've dealt with and still deal with because I'm still in this patriarchal system, right? So I always say that the person I am on stage or in my songs is the person I want to be.
Thought that I knew the ways of the city. Concrete and sidewalks, they always find their way into my thoughts. Thought that I knew the ways of the city, but I was never 18 and never unseen by the thunder. City lights don't faze you, no, you take it like
The city, you did not add that big overblown crescendo moment where all the instruments crash in and there's orchestration and all that just to try to get a rise out of the listener, because you don't need it. In that song, less is more. And it's nice that there's just a linear, and then it's done. And the listener's left, sitting there thinking, well, that was so beautiful.
Because Ross had to step out of the studio for a minute, and we decided, well, why don't we track the city? Because he had an assistant in. So Miles and I decided we were going to do it without a click because we thought it might be cool to have it kind of flow. And then Ross came back in and he was like, no. He said, it's good. It sounds good, but here's what I was thinking.
Right.
We weren't quite sure exactly where he was talking about these pulses. And so Ross said, well, how about I stay in the room? And I just, do that. So, I was in the vocal booth, but I can see there's a window right there. So I'm watching Ross just go like. It was really cool though.
In my opinion, one of the coolest things about being a producer, working with live off the floor musicians, is being in the room with them. Don't worry about being in the control room. Keep the energy going.
Hands
right?
on, yeah.
I'm not hardly a conductor, but I'm sort of conducting the more energy, less energy, more, and sort of speeding up the tempo, right? And even though it's to a click, sort of speeding up where the accents were.
Good producer. Like adjusting the dynamics in that way.
Yeah.
Say what you will. Every time I don't think twice, I rush in blind like a fool. Say what you will. Do you call this living? Do you call this living? Do you call this living? Thought that I knew the ways of the city. Concrete and sidewalks, they always find their way into my thoughts. Thought that I knew the ways of the city, but I was never 18 and never unseen by the sunrise.
Doing this album live off the floor was such a cool experience because live performance is such a comfort zone for me, and that's live performance is where I am sort of in my happy place. This record is really important to me because it's so much more me. It's so much more Sandra, as is Sandra. I am more me than I've ever been in my life, and that is a thing that makes me happy.
So, guys, congratulations on a really great record. I'll tell you that in my line of work, I'm exposed to a lot of different musicians. It's a crowded space. Every now and again, you meet special ones, and you're one of those. You're a star. And this album, no, really, I will be cheering from the sidelines when this record is out there. It's going to be great, and you will deserve all the success that you receive.
You're making me cry. Thank you.
Sit by the fire, yeah, yeah, yeah. Come and sit by the fire, yeah, yeah. Come and sit by the fire, yeah.